A TGIF, everyone, and welcome into the First Call podcast. He's Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk from First Bet and Express Bet. We're getting set to handicap some for the weekend, but before we roll into Saturday stakes, got a quick reminder tonight, if you're gambling, and you should be, Turfway Park, $146,000 in the late pick 5 carryover. So be sure to check out the racing in Florence tonight. Jeff Siegel gives his national best plays at First Bet and Express Bet each weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And Jeff, you just happened to fall into that pick 5 sequence tonight, so you're going to get people 1/5 of the way home.
I hope so. Well, we'll be doing that. Of course, we've got national best plays this weekend, and then starting opening day Santa Anita, we'll be concentrating on Santa Anita, and I've already done the morning line for Santa Anita's opening day, but all day and all night and in the morning to get it done. And I can tell you this: it's a really, really good card, not just because of the quality. But from a gambling standpoint, looking forward to that. There's some big fields, just challenging races, which is what we like. Mm-hmm. I've checked the weather. It's going to be pretty well, it's going to be in the 60s. I guess that's okay for winter.
That's pretty nice. We have light snow falling here, so right. I'll take 60s.
So, we're right on top of it. As I mentioned, already took entries for opening day. We'll do the remainder of the week today and tomorrow. So, we're going to have a head start. I will be prepared, I promise you. I don't know how many winners I'll pick, but I'll have the work done. So we're looking forward to that, and looking forward to this weekend. Again, no racing here in Southern California, but some good gambling around the country. Fairgrounds, Gulfstream, great cards there. So we'll concentrate on some of the big races back east, and again, hopefully we can make some money.
That December 26th at Santa Anita, a week from Thursday, a week from yesterday. So 6 days out now from opening day at Santa Anita. A little programming note, our Tuesday podcast we do each and every week, it's official, is going to be a special Santa Anita opening day preview. Jeff and I are going to tape it on Monday, the 23rd. We'll release it on the 23rd. We'll also re-release it on Tuesday for folks who are used to seeing it come out on Tuesdays for the It's Official podcast. But you'll be able to get our preview of Santa Anita's opening day Monday and Tuesday next week, getting set for that before the Christmas holiday. Jeff mentioned big racing this weekend at Fairgrounds and Gulfstream Park, and as we head to our schedule, for those of you listening on our traditional audio podcast channels, let's go through the rundown of the 8 stakes races we have for you in a handicap here on the show over the next 45 minutes. Fairgrounds, the Gunrunner Stakes, the Tenacious, and the Untappable, all part of the Road to the Kentucky Derby kickoff, the first of 4 big programs leading up towards the Louisiana Derby coming up this spring at the Fairgrounds. At Gulfstream Park, it's Pegasus Preview Day, 5 stakes races that are prep races to stakes that will happen on Pegasus World Cup Day coming up January 25th. So we've got some prep races there to talk about: the Sugar Swirl Stakes, the Janus, the Harlan's Holiday, the Fort Lauderdale, and the Suwannee River. For tournament players, big weekend on Saturday, the $1,000 Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship Super Low Ratio Qualifier. Your easiest way to get into the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship with that low ratio qualifier. A lot of spots up for grabs in that $1,000 entry fee. A couple $100 Gulfstream feeder tournaments also coming up Friday and Sunday. And for the Gulfstream players on Saturday, be sure to take part in the $10,000 December Exactathon with Express Bet and First Bet. Gulfstream Park and Laurel Park, which has a big stakes card on Saturday. Part of that Exactathon, you hit a set number of exactas, you're going to split $10,000 with other players on the platform who will also hit the most exactas on Saturday between Laurel and Gulfstream. Be sure to check out the promotions page at expressbet.com and on the First Bet app in the promotions section for all the details on the Exactathon. So 2 big places to look at this weekend. We will start out at Fairgrounds on Saturday, where the Gunrunner Stakes is race number 7 on the card. This is the Road to the Louisiana Derby beginning here. Jeff, they started this race 3 years ago, and you would think for a listed $100,000 in December, not that big of a deal. The 3 winners were Epicenter, Jace's Road, and Track Phantom, all making the Kentucky Derby the next year. So despite just a field of 5 in this year's Gunrunner Stakes, history tells us one of these horses is going to end up in a Derby gate.
I think I know which one it's going to be.
Well, tell us.
I didn't expect much when I started handicapping this race, just 5 horses in it, horses that had been exposed already as maybe a cut below the good ones. And then I came across a maiden winner named Admiral Dennis. Mm-hmm. He's only run twice. And, okay, it's a Brad Cox. Not a Godolphin, but it's a Brad Cox. colt by Constitution. They kind of gave him a little bit of an easy run in his debut sprinting, which is the right thing to do. Don't knock him about. Just give him a little bit of experience.
Right.
Went from 6.5 to a mile. And that race was early November, the maiden race, and he just absolutely crushed. And I also, as I say all the time, and I keep repeating myself, I don't care about the first race. It's the second one that counts.
Right.
And after earning a 67 Beyer number in his debut sprinting, not great, but okay, Then he stepped forward big time in his maiden win when he stretched out to a one-turn mile, earned an 83 Beyer, won for fun, won by 3.5, 6 clear. The runner-up was 6 clear of everybody else, and he did it the right way, Jeremy. I mean, he really lengthened out, beautiful mover, good size colt. He comes back in this race, which is a logical progression. It's a stakes, but it's basically a now one is a 2. And I think Admiral Dennis is going to produce another forward move and really throw his hat into the ring if he runs as well as I think he will. Again, 9-5 on the morning line. I don't know what he'll be. Maybe lower, maybe not, but that's my gamble. Admiral Dennis in the gun runner.
I think it's significant to see Luis Saez go to Fairgrounds for the ride. A lot of stakes races at Gulfstream Park. These guys are always trying to find their Derby mountain. When they have a really good 2-year-old and it's time to turn 3 and this time of year, they'll give up a day at their main bread and butter track to go chase one of these Derby mounts a lot of times. Admiral Dennis with Luis Saez, the horse to beat in a 5-horse field in the Gun Runner Stakes. That's race number 7 at the Fairgrounds on Saturday. Let's turn our attention now to the Fairgrounds 9th race on the Saturday card. It's the Tenacious Stakes, $100,000, mile and a 16th. This will get horses on the New Orleans Handicap Road, and of course the Tenacious Stakes, named for the 2-time New Orleans Handicap winner back in the 1950s and 60s, was a Fairgrounds legend, won 3 editions of the Louisiana Handicap. The Tenacious. We talked about Track Phantom, a horse who won the Gun Runner last year and made the Kentucky Derby field. Track Phantom is back in this race. He's one of these 3-year-olds who about to turn 4. And we've got a pretty good crop of those horses who seem to be coming back for next year, Jeff. A lot of the main names, Sierra Leone, Fierceness, a lot of the top horses. Of course, the filly, Torpedo Anna. This is a nice spot to be in for 3s turning 4 this year. A lot of times it's kind of sadness this time of year that we're bidding adieu and no anything left of the Eclipse Awards for the good 3-year-olds to talk about. But this year's crop turning 4 looks like it could be pretty exciting to follow. Track Phantom being one of those. He comes off a 2nd place finish in Allowance Company at Churchill Downs. Who do you like here in race number 9 in the Tenacious?
Well, Track Phantom could be really tough in this race. Inside speed, and if he can make the running, he was coming off the long layoff from the Derby, and then he ran 2nd, ran good, and in doing so earned a career top Beyer number. I could easily see Track Phantom winning this race. I went in a different direction, though. It's more of a speculative move. I don't know how good Kinetic is, but whenever you get a lightly raced Brad Cox 3 turning 4. Coming off a career top number in a 4-race career campaign or a lifetime campaign in which he's never taken a backward move. Every race he's run, he's got a faster number. Most recently, he won a race. He was beaten in his debut again, giving him a little bit of an educational run in his debut, and then reeling off 3 straight wins. And he's moved right up the ladder. Now he's in Listed Stakes Company. Kinetic's got a really good tactical type of speed where he sits right off the pace and then kicks in. Most recently in an allowance race at Churchill, very visually pleasing. Again, if he produces another forward move, he absolutely can run at this level. Now, you look at the form in Saudi Crown, who's the favorite on the morning line at 9-5. He's good enough. And that's the other Brad Cox horse.
Right.
I don't know, Jeremy. I don't know if I trust him. I mean, he's really good when he wants to be, and you can't find him other date races. He races that he should run well, and then he finishes up the track. So I'm going to try to beat him with the longer price of the Cox horses, Kinetic, even though at 9-2 he's not exactly a price horse. But I think he's a good colt, and if he continues to get better, he can be at this level. So that's my gamble. The up and coming number 2, Kinetic in the Tenacious.
He's another 3 turning 4 that could be a part of that handicap division.
Sure.
This is a good time race for the Pegasus World Cup. Horses could easily come out of this race and move forward from a 1.16 here to a 1.125 in the Pegasus World Cup. Really deep field for the Tenacious Stakes. For $100,000, you have 2 Kentucky Derby alumni and a Breeders' Cup Classic alum in Saudi Crown. The other Derby alum is Confidence Game from a couple years ago in the Kentucky Derby for Keith DeSormo. So a good-looking group in there. The up-and-comer, though, is Connecticut. That's Jeff's top pick, race number 9, the Tenacious Stakes on Saturday at Fairgrounds. Let's go to the 11th race on the card Saturday in New Orleans. It's the $100,000 2-year-old filly stakes, the Untappable. This gets them going on the road towards next year's Fairgrounds Oaks. The Untappable, of course, named for a Fairgrounds Oaks winner back in 2014. She had a heck of a year that year and being the champion 3-year-old filly in 2014, winning the Kentucky Oaks, the Breeders' Cup Distaff, made just under $4 million. The Untappable stakes, Jeff, we know Brad Cox is absolutely loaded in the 2-year-old filly division. The 2's turning 3. He's got Immersive, the undefeated Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies winner. He's got Mohima. He's got the filly who won the Goldenrod, whose name escapes me. He's got so many of them. It's Brad Cox's world. He's got California Sunset in this one. And Brad Cox ran 1-2 in this race last year with Alpine Princess, and also I can't even read my writing. Who was the other one who ran in here last year? West Omaha. West Omaha was the runner-up in this race last year. So is it Brad Cox again with California Sunset, or are we going to go a different direction?
I'm going to go in a different direction, although California Sunset, I think she's good. I think she's getting better. I love the Quality Road fillies. She's got a similar pattern to the filly that I'm picking, though, and that's Golden Gamble. I'll talk about Golden Gamble in a bit, but another example, and you see this a lot with these big barns, with these young horses, where they don't really crank them up. They'd like to give them a little bit of an educational run, and then out with that bit of experience behind them, then they can kind of tighten the screws a little bit. California Sunset was beaten 13 lengths in her debut. Came out of that race, improved her buyer number by 18 points, and won her maiden in the next start at Churchill Downs. That's good. She's now taking that next step. Golden Gamble, same thing. This is a Kenny McPeak filly. Pretty good third in her debut, behind California Sunset. And then Golden Gamble franked that form by coming back and winning her next race by 9 at Churchill, and earned a better number than California Sunset's ever earned. So I like that pattern. Again, the third start now, figures to produce another forward move. Already proven around 2 turns. Visually very impressive in her 9-length romp. I think Golden Gamble, she's 5-2 in the morning line. I'd gamble at that number. I think she's going to be okay. I mean, maybe better than okay. Not saying she's Torpedo Anna. I'm not saying she's not. We'll find out maybe in this race. But Golden Gamble, to me, is going to be hard to beat if she produces the kind of forward move I think she will.
You know, Kenny McPeak, we're talking about the trainer there of Golden Gamble, had Swiss Skydiver just a couple years ago, and you thought he probably won't have a 3-year-old filly that's going to Swiss Skydiver for a long time. And then along comes Torpedo Anna, who's probably even better. So who knows? This could be the next good McPeak 3-year-old filly to come in Golden Gamble. California Sunset also in there. Paris Lily for Godolphin. Godolphin's got a lot of those Brad Cox 2-year-old fillies turning 3 that have been so successful this year. Brendan Walsh trains Paris Lily in here. Notable that Brendan Walsh won this race 2 years ago with Pretty Mischievous, won it 3 years ago with North County. So they've already run this race 3 times. Brendan Walsh has 2 of them. Brad Cox has the other. They match up in here in race number 11. That's the Untappable Stakes Saturday at the Fairgrounds. So that's a look at Road to the Kentucky Derby kickoff day Saturday at Fairgrounds. For more handicapping on that Fairgrounds card, be sure to check out the blog section at expressbet.com and at news.first.com, where later today on Friday we'll get Scott Shapiro's picks posted there for the Saturday card at Fairgrounds. So be sure to check that out. Let's change gears now from Fairgrounds to Gulfstream Park on Saturday, where 5 stakes races will be held in preparation for the Pegasus World Cup coming up in about 5 weeks' time. At Gulfstream Park, we're going to start things off in race number 4. It's the Sugar Swirl Stakes, named for the filly, trained by Bobby Frankel for Stronach Stable. 2008, she ran through the sprint stakes at Gulfstream Park. She won the First Lady, the Hurricane Birdie, and the Shirley Jones. So we've got to have a main track sprint if it's going to be named after Sugar Swirl, and we do. 6 furlongs in here. Our Harper Rose, a filly who was so good at 2, but she just hasn't quite been the same as a 3-year-old filly. Intrepid Daydream, I talk about these as the first 2 in the program for Saffie Joseph because Saffie's got 5 of the 7 entrants in the Sugar Swirl. Very Chad Brown of him or Bob Baffert of him, the way the race lines up. Is it one of Saffie's 5 in here, Jeff?
I would think so. And the one that I came up with is the one that I like because she's drawn where she is outside. That's Mystic Lake. She was as impressive as you could be when she won the Charlestown Oaks, then was unplaced, although not embarrassed at all, behind Torpedo Anna in the cotillion. Freshened since then. And this workout, what we're watching right now, tells me that she's fresh, sharp, and ready to run her race. I mean, we have not seen her since September 21st, but she's working eagerly. This worked December 6th, so not too long ago, and galloping out very strongly and run really, really well. 48-3, could have gone much faster. So on her best day, she is good enough to beat this field. Mm-hmm. You look at some of her races. The race in the Victory Ride in New York behind Emery was outstanding. Consistently buyers in the 90s, fast enough to win. Gets Irad Ortiz for the first time. That's not a bad thing for sure. So I think Mystic Lake outside will either be quick enough to get over and make the lead, or if they want to stalk, pounce, and go, they can do that as well. 2-1 in the morning line, that's probably fair. So I'll go with number 7, Mystic Lake, to win the Sugar Swirl.
Defending champion here is Spirit Wind. She's back, and she's the only filly in this race with a recent start. You look at the layoffs in here. R. Harper Rose off since July. Intrepid Daydream, second in this race last year, but off since July. Hall and Ice off since the Keeneland meet in October. Spirit Wind did run in November at Churchill Downs. Launch we haven't seen since the Miss Preakness Stakes in May. Socially Selective, the Bill Mott trainees won 2 in a row, but that was during last year's championship meet. We haven't seen her since February. And Mystic Lake, as you mentioned, off since the Cotillion. So if you're looking for some recent form, Spirit Wind maybe one to watch in here. Defending champ in the race, Tyler Gaffleone rides. Again, one of 5 Saffie Joseph trainees in here. Again, Bill Mott's got Socially Selective, launch trained by Jorge Delgado. So Delgado, Mott taking on Saffie Joseph's brigade in there. Hopefully the race will stay together and we don't get a bunch of scratches with multiple entries in a stakes race like that for the same barn. Hopefully that race stays together for gambling purposes for sure. Let's go to the 8th race on the Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It's the Janice Stakes. I tried to figure out who this race was named for, Jeff. There's no good horses named Janice. The 2 that were named Janice, neither one won. They were maidens. Best I can tell, it's a Roman god in mythology, the god of beginnings. Given the Pegasus and everything along those lines, I'm guessing that that's probably where the Janus Stakes come from. I don't know where it comes from, but I think you know who the winner is, right? So I'm going to go to you and try to tap your wisdom here as the Greek god of handicapping, Jeff. Tell me who you like.
Well, I ended up with Yes, I Am Free, and he's maybe needs to improve a little bit to win. He's 8-1. But he's a first-time Brad Cox, so all of a sudden I'm thinking, all right, whatever he's done, he'll do better. And he's done plenty. 39 starts, 13 wins, 7 seconds and 5/3, 9 wins over the Gulfstream Park turf course, and now in the Cox barn. Had a run off a little bit of a layoff, finished to 3rd, led the way into the stretch, was 8-1 that day, got worn down, may have been a tad short, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Here's a weird thing about this race. It's 5 furlongs on the grass, Jeremy. And if you look at this race, it's devoid of early speed. I mean, there are horses that like to sprint and then can lay close up, but there's no breakaway fast horse. And I think Yes, I Am Free is going to make the running here. I think he's quick enough to get over and establish the pace. And if he produces any kind of forward move, doesn't need a massive, improvement.
Right.
But if he can improve just a little tighter, second off the bench for Cox, I think he might get loose on the lead and maybe keep on going. Again, he knows how to win on this course, and he's fast, and he's a pro. And again, second off the layoff, I think he's going to run huge. So 8-1 in the morning line. I'm going to gamble on number 5. Yes, I Am Free. Hopefully to wire the field in the Janus. That's the 8th race on Saturday at Gulfstream Park.
Arzak maybe will compete for favoritism in there, coming out of the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. An accomplished runner, won the Grade 2 Shakertown and the Grade 2 Woodford at Keeneland. Certainly has a knack for the turf course at Keeneland. We haven't seen him at Gulfstream much. Just one start on the Gulfstream lawn for Arzak. 5 on the turf might be a little sharp for him. He might want the 5.5 or longer for him. But he's a talented horse. You get Irad Ortiz riding Arzak for Mike Trombetta. A classy group in here for 140 grander. XY Speed coming off a win, a couple handicap wins here over the turf course back in April and May. So good looking group, full field, good betting races, usually the turf sprint stakes. Let's go to the Harlan's Holiday, race number 9 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It's our Express Bet race of the week. For my race of the week analysis, you can get that in the Express Bet newsletter and sign up for the email newsletter, expressbet.com. And at First Bet and each and every week with the newsletter, you'll get my race of the week analysis. This is a prep of the Harlan's Holiday towards the Pegasus World Cup. Some of the names being bandied about for the Pegasus World Cup, White Abario and Locke. They're the 2 big heavyweight names in there. Also, last year's Whitney winner, a horse that we want to keep our eye on for Bill Mott, Arthur's Ride. The name was almost escaping me there, but Arthur's Ride, the other headline name right now. So we're looking at potentially the winners of the Cigar Mile, a Breeders' Cup Classic, and a Whitney winner lining up towards this year's Pegasus World Cup. The Harlan's Holiday likely to produce a starter or 2 as well. Of course, this race named for the Florida Derby winner who came back at 4 to win the Don Handicap Harlan's Holiday back in the day. Who do you like here, Jeff? Mile on the 16th at Gulfstream Park. Should let people know this race starts really close to the first turn, and it finishes at a 16th pole finish line. So inside speed's never a bad thing, but when I handicap this race for race of the week, it looks like the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4 all want to be pretty forward. I don't think it's going to be a massive speed duel, but like trying to decipher who's got the advantage when the 4 inside all want to be near the front, I think any one of those 4 could take advantage of it.
I do, and I looked at Tumbarumba maybe, although I'm not crazy about 8-5 because I don't think he's any kind of mortal cinch or anything like that. But
right.
Couple of good angles for him. Number one, he's clearly coming out of the toughest race, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He pressed the pace that day. And, he stayed on, trained well since. This is a nice, easy breeze at Palm Meadows, just 102 and change. But he looks eager. His ears are up. He's kind of galloping along. So he's making his first start since the Breeders' Cup Mile. And it looks like a happy horse to me. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to run well. He's run well fresh in the past. The other thing is that, again, 3 starts, a win in 2 seconds at Gulfstream Park, not necessarily qualifying him as a horse for course, but at least he's run well on all 3 of his races here, so that's good. You talk about the short run of the clubhouse turn, and while he may be in front, he doesn't have to be in front, but he's going to be in the first flight. That's where I want him anyway. Right. And if he runs, he's fast on figs. His numbers on the buyers are mid-90s, consistent. And again, first or second out of 11 out of 17 starts, Jeremy. So I know he'll try. He'll lay his body down. I don't know what to make of Tuscan Sky. Maybe you can give me an opinion on him. He's inside. He's another horse that can be really good, maybe not so good. So I'm not sure about him. I'll stick with Tumbarumba, but at 8-5 in the morning line, I'm not sure there's much of a great gamble here. What do you think?
Yeah, I looked at Tuscan Sky, and I went back to XBTV, and we've got a couple works on him. We're going to actually see him working with a horse in the next race that you want to talk about. Yeah. But in the most recent workout, when he was in company, did not impress me. He did not want to go by. I just didn't like the work at all. So I'm against Tuscan Sky in this particular spot, even though Pletcher, a 3-time winner of this race against Johnny V aboard. Tuscan Sky's a horse who's had some potential, but can lay an egg or run well, inconsistent. I didn't like the work coming into this race for Tuscan Sky, so I was against him. Steel Sunshine is a horse in here who loves Gulfstream, 6 wins over the track, but the short stretch that he has not run well at a mile and a 16th here, and he hasn't run well in terms of gathering victories, but he's going to make his run. I just think he kind of runs out of real estate on these short stretch races. He's kind of almost better in the 1-turn mile, getting the full finish line, not because of the 1-turn nature of it, but I think he needs that stretch run. So Steel Sunshine, I think will hit the board, a good shot underneath, but I think he's beatable. And so I just keep coming back to Tumbarumba. Even though Luis Saez, is off, he's going to Fairgrounds for the day. He's got all those good Brad Cox mounts for him at Fairgrounds. He's given up the mountain here in a favorite on 100 grander, but then you get Tyler Gaffleone. So a good trade-off there. You're getting a top pilot. Gaffleone won this race last year with O'Connor. So, I expect Tumbarumba to be the winner in here. He's the most trustworthy horse, but he doesn't have a lot of margin for error, right, Jeff? You mentioned his 3 races at Gulfstream Park. He won by a nose. He lost by a nose, and he ran second by a neck. So you're going to get a photo finish. He's not going to blow anybody out. So at 8-5, I get it. Like if you don't, but I just trust him that he's going to run a good race. And some of the others in here, to me, just they don't match up to it. If you are looking for a weird price in here, Super Corinto hasn't done a whole lot for Safi Joseph in recent form, but a couple of years ago he popped in here with the 6-year-old South American O'Connor, another veteran in here. He's got him in a spot. If you're looking for a price where Super Corinto might be, somewhat interesting in here just a little bit, but for me, I think it's going to run through Tumbarumba. He's the most trustworthy horse in here, and even if he makes us sweat, I think he'll find a way to win a photo.
One point that I want to bring up that you touched on is that Saez is not riding him, and it may sometimes that indicates a lack of confidence. But if you're a jockey this time of the year and you got a chance to ride a promising 2-year-old turning 3, that's where you're going to go. That's more important to a guy like Saez than anything else. And this is just it's a nice race, and I'm sure he would have liked to have ridden this horse, but you got a promising 2-year-old somewhere else. Book the flight. That's where he's going to be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's go to the Fort Lauderdale Stakes. That's race number 10 on the card Saturday at Gulfstream Park. Grade 2, mile and an eighth. This is a prep towards the Pegasus World Cup turf. And we talked about a work in company for Tuscan Sky, the horse in the Harlan's Holiday. He's been working in company with Major Dude in some recent works. And we'll go back to some Palm Beach Downs workouts, and we'll take a look at Major Dude working on the main track. Of course, he's a turf horse, but has worked on the main by Bolt Doro out of a distorted humor mare. He's never been necessarily bred to not be a dirt horse. He's a solid runner on multiple surfaces. But here they are working in company, Jeff, and I know you like Major Dude coming up here in the Fort Lauderdale. So talk about him, the bay on the outside, Tuscan Sky, the gray inside.
Yeah, I thought Tuscan Sky should have been able to keep up with him without having to be niggled on. You can see Major Dude on the outside under a double hammer lock. Could have left his workmate if he wanted to. There's no point. They're not racing here, but there's no doubt who's going the easier of the two. And Major Dude, who has not been out since Keeneland in October, he looks like a horse who's eager to kick on with it. Don't you think, Jeremy?
Absolutely, yeah. And when they worked the work most recently, they switched him, and to the inside was Major Dude, and to the outside was Tuscan Sky, and Tuscan Sky just couldn't keep up, Right. So, they switched it up after this work, and Major Dude, to me, much better than him. Now, of course, Tuscan Sky's not running in the turf race, and Major Dude's not running in the dirt race, but I wasn't impressed with Tuscan Sky in these, but certainly Major Dude is in good form right now, coming off that 96 buyer at Keeneland. Now, we haven't seen him in a month or two, but he comes fresh, and he's run well at Gulfstream in the past on the grass course. He won the Kitten's Joy. He was second in the Dania Beach back here in 23, a little over almost 2 years ago now. He hasn't been back to Gulfstream since then, but he looked like he was going to be one of the best 3-year-old turfers in America when he was here during the championship meet a couple of years ago. Major Dude hasn't gone on to become a great turf horse, but he's very solid, and I think in this particular spot, the Fort Lauderdale, he looks good in here. Others to consider: Lorenz, a horse who's won a couple in a row for Safi Joseph, coming off a win in the Remington Green at Remington Park last time out. Shug McGahee, you always have to consider him in these late season turf races. We talked about him in podcasts recently. He's got Fort Washington in this particular spot. So pretty good field in here. Todd Pletcher's also got Grand Sonata, a horse who won the Kentucky Downs Turf Cup a couple starts back and has made over $2 million. So good looking group in here. Again, $215,000 the purse for the grade 2 Fort Lauderdale. This is a pretty nice group.
One other thing I wanted to mention that you did is the pace scenario here. They're going a mile and an eighth, and I like Major Dude because he's got that great tactical speed. You can just drop him on the course and in the race, and he'll be exactly where you want him to be.
Yeah.
And he's got that stalking style, proven form over the course, fresh, dangerous, training really well. I mean, he's 5-1, Jeremy. Can I get 5-1? I'll take it right now.
Yeah, I think you're going to get a dynamite trip. Saratoga flashed right to his inside, probably sets the pace, and you just sit there second and get the first over move with Irad. Could be an absolute perfect trip. A PT, as I write in my past performances, to come for this horse. I think he's set up nicely.
I use the same designation, by the way, PTs.
You know what threw me off earlier? I was trying to read my notes on the deal, and I abbreviated West Omaha, W Omaha, and so the W and the O were both capitalized, and I thought the horse had Woodbine in its name. Like, when I looked down, I was like, Woodbine Mahal. What the hell is Woodbine Mahal? It was West Omaha. So sometimes your abbreviations get the best of you when you're trying to read on the fly with old eyes. Let's go to race number 11 on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. It's the Suwannee River, named for the lyrics in the state song of Florida. Old folks at home, of course, the composer of that song, Way Down Upon the Suwannee River, was Stephen Foster. I think we talked about this last year on the show. Stephen Foster, of course, the composer of My Old Kentucky Home, most famously, but also wrote another song of repute in horse racing, the Suwannee River. Grade 3 stakes race here, a mile on the turf. Another big field here. Should be some good gambling Saturday at Gulfstream. How do we finish it up, Jeff?
I'm going to go with the South African import from Todd Pletcher's barn, Bless My Stars. I had success with some South American fillies when I was with Team Valor back 20, 25 years ago, including a filly named Iridescence who beat a Ouija board in Hong Kong in a $2 million race. That was a thrill. I wasn't there. I was sitting in front of my computer screen yelling at the computer. But anyway, so I have respect for South African fillies, and this one, she wasn't tops, but she was running against the best. I noticed that, she's got some really good races in graded company. She ran in the Durban July Cup, which was a Group 1 win. It's the best race over there. And she was third in that race. And I can tell you that if that form, and I know it's a couple of years ago, but if that form is repeated here, she is good enough to win. I haven't seen her breeze or anything like that, so I don't know what she looks like. She's 5, but she's relatively young 5 because she was bred on the Southern Hemisphere time. Ortiz, Pletcher. Now the post is not going to do her any favors, but on the other hand, Bless My Stars, that might work in our favor because we're going to get a better price because of it. I think people are going to look at it and say, I'll just look at, let's see one first, 12, all that.
Right.
And maybe it will cost her. I don't know. But from the gambling standpoint, I'll take 9-2. I mean, again, if you look at the form, group winner over there against legitimate company. This is a Group 3. It's not that strong of a race. I can tell you one thing. I like her better than Golden Hostess, who is another South African horse in this race. That one trained by Graham Motion. I tried to match them up, and I came to the conclusion that Bless My Stars is better. So, and the other one's, she's contender too. So I like Bless My Stars. Hopefully that she can somehow work out a trip and run to what I think she's capable of running.
If you're going to take a filly or a colt out of the 12-hole on the turf, you hope there's some speed in the race. You want that field to stretch out a little bit. You don't want them all tightly packed. And really, the way this race sets up with Ocean Club on the inside, plenty of early foot there. Another one, Swoonterra, is fairly inside. It's got some speed. Be Your Best has speed. So there are some horses to the inside that can stretch this field out a little bit, and then that makes it easier to slide down for the horses to the outside. If they're all clumped going into that first turn and nobody wants to go, then you end up 6-7 wide a lot of times. So if you like Bless My Stars from the outside, you want them to go fast and get out of there early and let her slide over and save a little bit of ground into the turn. You got an outstanding rider in Irad Ortiz to try to figure out that trip. That's going to wrap up our handicapping for our 8 stakes races this weekend. We looked at 3 from Fairgrounds and 5 from Gulfstream Park. Again, want to remind you, coming up tonight at Turfway Park, late pick 5. We've got a Jeff Siegel best bet during that pick 5 sequence, so be sure to check out his national best plays at expressbet.com and at news.first.com. But the late pick 5 tonight at Turfway Park, $146,000 in the carryover. Be sure to check that out. Big day of racing at Fairgrounds, big day at Gulfstream, and of course we got that exactathon coming up for you on Saturday with races from Gulfstream and also Laurel Park. So be sure to check all of that out. Jeff, nice weekend. We got a college football playoff game in the snow tonight, Notre Dame and Indiana. Should be a fun sports weekend tomorrow. What do we got? Three playoff games and 2 NFL games going head to head tomorrow.
Yeah. Again, I'll hunker down in my Casa de Siegel here with my big screens, watch the college football games, and basketball too. We have a game. My team has a game at Madison Square Garden noon our time against North Carolina. So UCLA, North Carolina, and meanwhile, I've got nothing on you. Your team's undefeated. I hope that you can continue. Oklahoma can continue to do that. Since neither one of us has,
we look good till the 1st of January. We got a couple easy games coming up, so the Sooners are off to a good start. But then they play at Alabama like January 4th.
Yeah, right.
Then it starts to get serious.
Right as far as you can. Yeah. But again, gambling on the weekend, good gambling. I mean, sometimes we pick the stakes races here. Sometimes you got a bunch of short prices you don't want to beat, but you don't want to bet on them either. But in this sequence of 8, I really think we can make some money. And then, of course, Monday, coming up Monday, when we have our show that we're going to preview the opening day at Santa Anita, with It's Official. I think that you should be, definitely listen to that, because I've done the card already, and I can tell you there is money to be made opening day on Thursday, and we'll spill our guts on Monday, so on our show, and so take a listen, take some notes for sure, and get prepared for opening day at Santa Anita a week from yesterday.
All right. If you don't catch us on Monday or Tuesday, be sure to have a Merry Christmas with you and yours. And of course, like I said, next week our program will be Monday. We will do It's Official, and then our normal Friday slot. We will be back on the 27th on Friday to do the First Call podcast. So we will be back here in our normal time slot next Friday. But again, as Jeff mentioned, programming note will be ready Monday night with the podcast for Tuesday for It's Official as we preview Santa Anita. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you next week.